Today we go through every single Kirby boss to find out which are the top 15 hardest bosses for us to take down within the Kirby franchise. We are not really necessarily focusing so much on the kind of spin-off Kirby games, but more on the main titles, because those are the ones that drove me crazy with their boss battles, because some of them were extremely difficult. Once again guys, these are my opinions and based off of my experiences and stuff that I've heard from people that I've talked to with how hard these bosses were for them, so I've kind of put this list together based on my preference. So let me know in the comments down below what you would put in your list, and also make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Kirby and Nintendo in general. Now without further ado, let's get into our list of the top 15 hardest bosses in the Kirby franchise. Now coming in at number 15 and starting off this list, we have Kirby Dream Land 2's Sweet Stuff? Yeah, I know, it's a weird one, but for me, it was always very difficult to take this guy down because of how weird the mechanic was. Of course, we really didn't have copy abilities that could do a lot of damage here, so we had to do the next best thing. Yep, blowing sea stars back at its face. It was actually kind of difficult because the sea stars didn't always come, which made it very difficult for you to dodge different attacks that he would throw at you, like constant stars and different enemy attacks. You probably spent the majority of the fight just in his face blowing water bubbles, and it just, I don't know, maybe it was just more non-fun to me than difficult, but I just definitely don't like it. It's 15. I can't argue with it. Coming in at number 14, we have Meta Knight from all the classic Kirby games, and I mostly am going off of Kirby's Adventure here, where Meta Knight was just difficult because he was a small, quick object. That's what made him so difficult for me. It's not like his moves were super crazy or anything, it's just his patterns were very unpredictable, and he was just like another little Kirby character moving around the stage so randomly and sporadically. He would also hit me a lot, so he would normally take my health down all the way. I normally beat him, but barely. It would take me a full bar of health in order to take down Meta Knight, just because of how crazy he was. He was moving too quick and throwing that sword around too crazy. Coming in at number 13, I have Goliath X from Kirby Return to Dreamland. This guy was throwing punches at me, man, and I remember the first couple of times of fighting this guy was very difficult because it is pretty much the same version, but just every attack and move is quicker and of course more powerful. That punch would come in very fast, and yes, you can duck underneath it to just dodge it, but I'm not judging these bosses off of the most meta way to fight them, but the first couple times you have to fight this guy, it can be very difficult. He has lots of electric projectiles as well, kind of like Ryu, and he's shooting out all these different Hadoukens and stuff at Kirby in the sporadic ways. He even has a move where he bounces all over the stage like crazy. It can be kind of difficult. Now, the reason I'm putting Star Dream Soul at number 12, because, man, let me tell you what, it is probably one of my favorite bosses in Kirby, history, but it isn't that difficult when we compare it to some of the past games, and some of the other ones that I've played so far, even in modern-day Kirby. And I think the main reason is because you're controlling the battleship Halberd instead of Kirby himself, and lots of these attacks are easy to dodge. All you have to do is spin and get out of the way, and once you know the pattern of how the attacks are coming in, it's really not that difficult. And maybe it's just because I'm really good with like flying planes and shooting or something. Maybe I have like Star Fox in my blood, but this was never that difficult for me. Now, when you actually had to go in and fight the heart in the true arena, it did get a lot more difficult with that because, of course, you have to carry over whatever health you have, and you don't know what this thing is doing, and it can be very difficult. But that's probably the most difficult part of this entire battle because I didn't think the, Battleship Halberd portion was that bad. Coming in at number 11, we have Magalor Soul EX. Now, this boss has two different phases, and they are some pretty difficult phases. The first one isn't too bad, just throwing some basic projectiles and enemies at Kirby, but then of course comes phase 2, which will test you because he has a lot of crazy attacks, even the ability to use these super abilities that Kirby can use as well, hitting Kirby with giant hammers and even swinging giant swords around. Yeah, some of these attacks are actually very hard to dodge. It's definitely not the hardest boss in Kirby, but it definitely does make me have to grind when I go back to revisit True Arena. It's always a stretch to finish it. Coming in at number 10, we have Phantom Forgo Dedede from Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Now, this guy could be very, very difficult, and not as much because of Dedede himself, but the lava everywhere. There's lots of attacks that shift the stage and flip the stage and put lava in places it should not be, and even King Dedede can throw his different hammers to create lava pillars and smack the ground to have lava and fire chase after Kirby. It's a lot of lava, and lava is a detrimental thing to Kirby in this game. It can do a lot of damage. So everywhere you look, there's lava coming for Kirby, especially as King Dedede is jumping and running around Kirby on all fours, it can be very difficult to keep your mind on what's happening, and there's just so much going on, it could get very messy. Am I like the only one that had problems with Miracle Matter when I first started playing the game when I was a kid? I don't know, but my memories of this boss were just like, it was so difficult for me. I love how it transfers and changes into all these different types of copy abilities of its own, and Kirby has to kind of play off of its different attacks and take what it has in order to throw it back at him. And it's actually, like, really cool, but I just kept getting beat up by this thing. I don't remember why, but I think it was just a lot of just throwing random attacks at Kirby and all these different projectiles flying every which way. I was just getting beat up like crazy. But it definitely is fun. Just kind of hard for me. I don't know why, but it just, yeah, it took me to places when I was younger. Did anybody else experience this? You can honestly say any Galacta Knight fight because they all play the same, but it's just very, very special in Superstar Ultra. And when I say special, I mean especially hard, because not only is this boss hard on its own, but it comes in a very critical time when you're playing through the true arena. And when you're playing through the true arena, you're probably getting beat up, and you're going to fight this thing towards the very end of your journey in this arena, and it can be difficult, because it fights very similar to Meta Knight, and it still moves very fast and sporadically like Meta Knight, throwing that lance around, and you don't know which way he's going to move next. But this time he has special abilities like shooting out tornadoes, shooting lasers from his lance, and just flying across the stage and shooting beams from space. Yep, this guy can be very difficult like Meta Knight, but in my opinion a little bit harder from Kirby Superstar Ultra. What's up everybody? Today's video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sakurako. We got cool treats from Tokyo, from snacks to all types of crazy drinks, and we're going to be trying some for you guys today. Now, what the difference between these two boxes is Tokyo Treat is more popular Japanese candy and snacks, and Sakurako is more authentic, traditional Japanese snacks from Japan's local artisan and snack makers. Each box also comes with these cool little pamphlets that show you where the snacks come from and the kind of background in which they come from, giving you lots of detail about each snack you eat. We have some crazy stuff like this candy ice cream cone. Smells like marshmallow.
Oh, okay. Is that marshmallow?
That is so cool. That was, I like that. Some of our favorites. This one is one of my favorites. It's like a lemon salt chip. It's kind of like a pork rind, but with lemon and salt all over it. Here's some of their favorites. It's like a mochi candy, like a green gummy. Tokyo Treat always has special Kit Kats every single time. This month's is cookies and cream.
Those are good. They don't taste like cookies and cream.
We got these Ramune candies. As you can see, we devoured this entire thing already. They're very good. Almost like little... Yes, they're good. Now, probably our favorite thing that we've had so far, ever, are these vanilla Pocky Sticks. This box is the Sakurako box, and the first thing we got is like a chocolate piece of bread. It's got chocolate stripes all the way through it. Chocolate bread. Got some orange cake, and it smells so orangey.
It sounds so salty.
Peanut flavored bites. They taste exactly like Nutter Butters, but in my opinion, even better. Real good.
They're good.
No, it's so big. This one we have is like a vanilla wafer. We had like a couple of these and we already absolutely tore them up. This one's really cool because it actually has pictures ingrained on it. And I can confirm these pictures are different from the first one we had. This one is like, I don't know, it's a little sea, if you can see it, with little boats on it. Yeah. And this one, soccer field. Also with the Sakurako box, it comes with tableware, and this month's is this cool little dish that you can use for your dietary needs. Tokyo Treat theme this summer is Summer Matsuri, piled high with the most exclusive and flavorful snacks Japan's summer festivals have to offer, and Sakurako's theme for the summer is Tea Time in Yokohama, where Sakurako is partnering with Kanagawa government and local snack makers to introduce traditional Yokohama delights in the special Yokohama box design. If you guys want to get your hands on your own box, use my special code on the screen. Here or there, somewhere it's there. It's not there. All links are in the description down below. Thank you again to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring this video. Coming in at number 7 is Pyribbit from Kirby Triple Deluxe. I hate this boss. I can't stand him. I can't explain why. This stupid frog used to always give me problems. When I run through the true arena, it would always come down to this stupid frog. I don't know why, it's just the fire left on the stage and the most sporadic, lava bubbles and fire pillars it would shoot at you. It was just always so hard to dodge for me. I don't know, did anybody else have problems with this stupid frog? Because man, he was annoying. He also had like this command grab with his tongue, which actually is extremely accurate, and if he grabs you, he spits you out all over the stage and does extreme damage. It's not fun at all. Forgo Leon is very powerful, not because of himself, but because of Forgo that's possessed inside of him. Halfway through the battle, Forgo Leon will separate between him and Forgo, fighting after Kirby, and it's kind of a 2v1 where Kirby is just getting wrecked. Fecto Forgo can create all these different energy blasts, which alone are pretty powerful, but it's also the fact that Leon is trying to eat Kirby during the process, just making it very difficult to keep your eye on who you're fighting. And no matter what ability you have to multitask and actually play very defensive in this battle, or you will get smoked. This was actually surprisingly difficult, and I'm glad, because this was actually a great way to end the post game, or at least start the end for the post game. Coming in at number 5, we have Chaos Elfilis, and I'm talking about both phases, baby. This guy is a menace. That spear of his will be going every which way, and what's so good about this boss is you can't sit there and predict how he's going to swing his spear. Like, it's going to change every single time. He's going to throw it at you a couple times, pause, hit you with another one, take a second to step back, hit you with another one. I love how he keeps you off guard and on your toes because you have to react to every attack that he does at Kirby. He also has attacks where you can make like another duplicate of himself in the background and swinging this giant spear as he's also throwing stuff at you himself. It can get kind of crazy. He also has tons of projectiles where you can throw meteorites at Kirby through like a wormhole, and also just different types of spear like projectiles that he shoots out of his spear. And his soul form is just absolutely outrageous. He has all these different crazy laser attacks and attacks from past bosses that Kirby has fought. It can really keep Kirby moving back and forth and using that dodge a lot. And once again, he can set himself on fire and rush towards Kirby, which would completely devastate Kirby if he gets hit by this move. This guy is not playing around. Coming in at number 4, we have Void Termina from Kirby Star Allies, and this is from the Soul Melter X difficulty. Yep, this is a tough boss battle. Now, the first portion just has you kind of moving around this 3D plane, which was really cool at the time because we really haven't had a 3D Kirby game. And this, of course, was foretelling Forgotten Land, but enough about that. This was a fun boss to fight in this part, but it wasn't that hard. It had an auto reticle which already locked onto his heart into the different pieces that you need to hit, and it wasn't that bad to dodge. I mean, all you had to do was just keep moving to the side or keep jumping and you were pretty good, but where it got really difficult is where you had to continuously go inside of its shell and fight Void itself, which Void had lots of crazy, one of those sporadic attacks where it's just shooting projectiles every which way. I honestly think this would be one of the hardest bosses in the entire franchise if it wasn't for Kirby Star Allies mechanics, because they have the mechanics of obviously, gaining stronger attacks with combining fire with hammer and stuff like that, and also the fact that you could resurrect teammates and stuff is what made this easier, and the fact that you could have 4 players fight this thing. So if this was just Kirby on his own, this would probably be the hardest boss ever. It really fit so much they could in a boss battle for the final 2D Kirby game until Forgotten Land. They really just threw everything at Kirby, and this can be very difficult. This boss right here, ladies and gentlemen, this boss right here in Kirby's Dream Land 2 is so freaking annoying. I hate dark matter so much, and you may not think it's too difficult. All you have to do is keep shooting back his projectiles at him. He has certain projectiles that you cannot shoot back, and he also rushes you randomly, and it's so many hits to kill this guy. Even with the most powered up version of Kirby, you still can't kill him super quick. And it's not really phase 1 that made me that mad, it was really phase 2, where phase 2 drove me up a wall. This fight is all about positioning, and that's why if you watch someone that's really good at the game, they'll position themselves in such ways where they will never get hit because of just how they know where the game code is going to put you. But that's the thing, you have to know exactly each movement of dark matter in order to put yourself in a good position to not get hit. If you don't know those positions to be in, you're going to get destroyed. And trust me, I did multiple times playing through this game and even playing through it again. So I was making a quick poll last night to solidify my answers as to what I wanted in the final 3, and you guys helped me a lot because you guys also chose exactly what I would have chose. Number 2 being the Soul Melter version of Corrupt Hyness, along with the sisters as well. I put them both in the same category because you fight them back to back and they kind of feel like they should be in the same category. But goodness gracious, I was not expecting this to be so chaotic. Hyness alone is very difficult because he's using these like wooden peg versions of the sisters, and they still have their elemental powers as he's throwing them at Kirby, so that can be very difficult. But if you have fire, you can just pretty much burn each piece of wood very quickly. It's not too bad, but when this really ramps up is when the sisters come out. The 3 mage sisters are literally all fighting Kirby at once. Yeah, you're pretty much 2v3ing her if you only have 2 people on your team. You're going to want to stack up because this is a complete battle. You have electric swords swinging at you, ice throwing at you from the sky, and fire pillars raising from the ground. This can be the most chaotic thing ever. The funny part is it's nothing crazy, it's just all the moves that the mage sisters already can do. It's just the fact that they're all fighting you at once. You can't even take a second to breathe and to see what's going on. The second you stand up, you see a spear heading for Kirby's head. This is insane. And coming in at number 1 as our hardest Kirby boss is Soul of Sectonia from Kirby Triple Deluxe. This was the last boss of the true arena, and it was very true. And I mean very true. Once again, you don't have any partners this time around like Kirby Star Allies, it's just Kirby against this plant, and there's lots of times where Kirby will always feel outnumbered. There's lots of little plants shooting at Kirby, there's lots of enemies coming onto the stage, and there's of course the giant Queen Sectonia plant in the background trying to hit Kirby every time. And it's almost like this boss is separated into like 15 mini portions that you gotta get through. And each time you go through the next portion, it just gets harder and harder and harder and harder to predict what these freaking plants are going to do. They're shooting lasers, throwing things at Kirby, keeping Kirby on his toes the entire battle. It's also very difficult because there's holes in the platform, so you can lose your copy ability down that hole, and you can also fall down that hole if you have something in Kirby's mouth and you can't flutter back up. Very difficult indeed because the stage makes this very difficult as well. But that's not it! Queen Sectonia has a part 2 here. This part 2 is completely specific for the true arena. That's it. You have never seen this before, and once again, it does use attacks from past bosses that Kirby's fought, but it's very, very unique because we haven't seen anything like this throughout the campaign. So this is new to the player, especially as you're running low on health through the true arena. This can really throw you off. She spawns enemies, flies back and forth from the stage, throws projectiles, and just does things all over the place that really makes this a difficult boss battle. And that is why the Soul of Sectonia is my hardest boss in the Kirby franchise. Let me know how I did, and let me know what your list would be and what you would change, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this video, leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Kirby and Nintendo in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.